Ever wondered how to unlock the hidden power within you? In today's video, we're diving into The Inner Effect, a groundbreaking audiobook that reveals how to transform your mindset, boost your potential, and create lasting change. Whether you're striving for personal growth, professional success, or just want to live life to the fullest, this summary will give you the key insights to get started. Stay tuned to discover the secrets behind this powerful inner transformation. The Inner Effect, written by Ian Robertson. Chapter 1: The Mystery of Picasso's Son. Pablo Picasso, Pablo's son, was as much of a loser as his father was successful. This isn't an anomaly. Many children from successful parents aren't successful themselves, and the other way around. There are two reasons for that. Successful parents don't spend time with their kids, and unsuccessful parents do. Children need enough nurturing from their parents to be successful themselves. Kids of successful parents struggle because out-achieving their parents seems difficult. These parents often craft the narrative that they have always been great and hide the difficult path that led them to their success. The child, knowing he is not as great as his parents, becomes then unmotivated to try to achieve anything, which leads to nihilism. Successful people have a physical drive to succeed akin to the drive to eat or drink. That's what you need. People that do stuff for a mere extrinsic motivation, like money, don't go as far as people that do stuff for its own sake. This is why many billionaires keep on working even though they could retire. They're not in it for the money, but for the pleasure to achieve. Money isn't that good of a motivator. In fact, people that know that they will inherit a lot of money at some point have no intrinsic motivation to succeed or achieve anything. This is why Bill Gates won't give his kids too much money. When striving for a big goal, consider that it will take time and won't be guaranteed. This is why it is important to celebrate the small victories on your way there. Focusing on your big goal only will make you depressed otherwise. Psychologists found out that the most driven people didn't set unreachable goals. They set achievable goals, achieved them, then set new achievable goals. Their repetitive victories motivated them further. No one is born with the intrinsic need to succeed. This need is learned, taught. This is why parents and teachers must encourage kids to pursue the learning of a musical instrument or the practice of sports for them to do so. It's rarely gratifying in the beginning. Always praise children for their efforts, never for their intelligence. Here's why. When you praise children for their intelligence, they think that everything will come to them naturally because they're smart. As a result, they don't try anything new and don't make any effort for anything. They get scared to do anything. If they did something and failed, it'd mean they're not as intelligent as they think they are, and their identity would unravel completely. Because they are intelligent, hence better than others, they see everything through performance and beating other people. This is bad for their social life. Everything they do is putting their ego to the test. When they don't think they can win, they don't compete. Children told they're bright don't want to learn. They don't accept that to be great. You need to suck first. How do you free them from that? You tell them the truth, that they're not as intelligent as they think. When you do, you relieve them of the burden to fit the super smart person. Now they're free to fail and be themselves. Chapter 2: The Puzzle of the Changeling Fish. There is a fish in East Africa whose males are split into two types: losers and winners. Winner fish are big and bright, and they aggressively chase away the loser fish that are bleak, gray, and passive. But sometimes a loser fish will suddenly wake up and become a big, aggressive, and bright winner fish. Why? Since the alpha fish is bright, it gets more often eaten by the birds who can spot them. If a beta fish is in the neighborhood of an alpha fish, when that happens, the beta fish will inherit the territory of the alpha fish. Getting a new territory secretes testosterone in the fish's brain and instantly makes it an alpha too. Winning triggers testosterone, which makes you alpha, which in turn helps you win. Traders, for example, earn more money when they have higher testosterone than not. But it's not all. Football fans have less testosterone when their team loses a game than when it wins it. What does it mean? That winning and losing is a vicious circle. The more you win, the more you win. The more you lose, the more you lose. H.G. Landau, a psychologist, suggested this theory, which was later put to the test with fish again. Scientists put fish in 3 fish bowls. One fish was alone, other fish were with bigger fish, and other fish were with smaller fish. The lonely fish became a beta fish, like the fish with bigger fish. The fish with smaller fish became alpha fish. Why? Because winning triggers testosterone in your brain, which makes you stronger, which in turn helps you win. That's the winner effect. You have more chances to win if you have won before than if you have lost, but not in every context. Mice, for example, only benefit from the winner effect when they fight on their territory. They don't benefit from it if they fight on another's mice territory. So winning depends on your area, be it physical area or area of expertise. We are contextual creatures and are heavily influenced by our environment. For example, heroin addict who fought in Vietnam did not remain addicts when they went back to America. The environment was just too different. The environment plays a tremendous role. Red, for example, makes animals more aggressive. Sports teams wearing red win more often. Monkeys wearing red are more aggressive. And birds with red colors are more aggressive too. The body and mind are linked. Being happy makes you smile, but smiling also makes you happy. Feeling dominant makes you extend your body so that it takes more space. But expanding your body also makes you more confident. Chapter 3. The Enigma of Bill Clinton's Friend. Keeping mum is an expression that means not telling. It's a social phenomenon in big organizations that helps individuals escape sanctions for mistakes they have made. There are 2 types of hierarchies, flat and steep. The higher you are, the more power you have. The more power you have, the more testosterone you have. The more testosterone you have, the more victories you will have. The more you win, the more you win. People at the bottom don't have power, so they don't have testosterone, so they don't win and they don't rebel. This explains why most revolutions are undertaken by the middle class, not the bottom class. The bottom class, because they are at the bottom, is more likely to be harmless. Power changes behavior. Power makes you less likely to see events from other perspectives than your own. Power gets you to focus on goals, not on dangers. It blinds to risks. Power makes you feel like you can control more stuff than you actually can. This is why power is dangerous if you don't check your ego. This also explains why winning cannot keep on going eternally. At some point, the winner makes a mistake due to overconfidence and loses. While winning impacts your brain and personality, losing does so too. Winners focus on goals because they're protected and can afford to do so. Losers are vulnerable, so they focus on danger. This is why losers are more likely to spot dangers in general than winners are. And this is why society needs them both. We need winners to move forward and losers to keep us safe. It's also addictive, and the extent to which one is addicted to power depends on their genes. Some crave it more than others. The hungrier for power people are, the more ballsy they act. But the hungrier they are, the more they suffer when they lose. Chapter 4. The Mystery of the Oscars. Oscar and Nobel's winners live on average longer than Oscar and Nobel nominees. People in the tallest tombs also happen to have lived the longest. And high-ranking civil servants live longer than low-ranking civil servants. Why? Because of the stress induced by chances of social exclusion. 2 variables increase or decrease your chances to be excluded from the group. Your place in the social hierarchy, the control you exercise over your life. People at the top of the hierarchy have the lowest chance to be excluded from society. As a result, they're not stressed by their social status, which enables them to live longer. Since Oscar and Nobel's winners acquire forever status, they can finally rest knowing that their achievements will de facto always include them in the hierarchy. Humans are extremely sensitive to their social status. When we meet someone higher up in the hierarchy, our brain pumps blood in the part that takes care of self-awareness. This is why many people are not themselves when they meet someone of particularly high status. Side note, one of the best ways to decrease self-awareness is to drink alcohol. The second thing we talked about is control. We like control because control helps us protect ourselves against the risk of being excluded from the group. When you have control over your work or your life, you don't depend on someone else for it, so there is less risk, so you are less stressed, so you live longer. Understand, don't rent, own. Unfortunately, few people manage to claim back control after being deprived of it. This is called learned helplessness. E.g., animals that are subject to electrical shocks without the power to stop them the first time do not stop the shocks when subject to them the second time, even though they have the power to do so. The same effect applies to people. If you are deprived of your power to defend yourself, your brain will remember your helplessness and will stop looking for an escape. The extent to which you think you have control over your life also influences your psyche. For example, people that believe they have maximum control and that everything in life is a question of how hard they work are less likely to submit to torture, while people who believe the opposite are more likely to. One of the most powerful stressors for humans isn't financial insecurity, but social evaluative threat. Social evaluative threat is the fear to be judged inferior because of who we are. This is the shame we may feel when we meet someone of higher status than us. Downgrading status, or losing all of your money, for example, has the same painful effect, both on us and animals. Feelings of rejection create a form of toxic stress that impacts how long and how healthy we live. Because humans were never meant to survive alone, they have developed these mechanisms to ensure they'd remain within the group. Chapter 5. The Riddle of the Flying CEOs. Dopamine is a hormone that compels us to do the things that trigger it. When you earn money in a casino, for example, dopamine surges. You feel good, so you feel compelled to gamble again. When dopamine crashes, you feel bad, so you feel compelled to stop doing what you did and to do something to feel good again. We don't all react to dopamine equally. Some people with 1 or 2 copies of the allele DRD4 have certain genes that trigger more dopamine in their brains than other people. These DRD4 people take more risks and are more impulsive. Dopamine is triggered in all sorts of situations. It is also triggered by testosterone. What does that mean? People that win have more testosterone, as we have said already. More testosterone creates more dopamine. Dopamine makes you crave more dopamine, which things like sex, money, and drugs provide. This creates more testosterone, and the whole cycle starts again. This could be called the Wolf of Wall Street cycle. Money, sex, power, or cocaine strongly and repeatedly trigger surges of dopamine in the brain's reward system, which risks unleashing the unquenchable cravings of the addict. This is why people such as traders often are horny drug addicts with no sense of reality. Obviously, the cycle above cannot go on forever. People with a lot of dopamine in their brains perform significantly less well than people who do not. This means that the higher the reward you give someone to do something, the worse of a job they will do to get the reward. We don't all crave power the same way. Some have higher needs for power than others. These people have sex more often than people who don't. They're also more likely to cheat. When someone gets a lot of power or money, the brain doesn't distinguish them. They become more open to taking risks, which may be why companies pay their CEOs so much in the first place. Too much dopamine is not good. It leads to schizophrenia. On the other hand, not enough dopamine leads to Parkinson's. When the brain receives too much dopamine, it gets addicted and needs more and more of it. But this isn't possible. Lack of dopamine eventually leads to apathy, anxiousness, and over-concern about risks. Power makes people care less about what others think. It makes them selfish and lack empathy. Even the tiniest taste of temporary power can make us more egocentric and less inclined to consider other perspectives. If we arouse power feelings in otherwise ordinary people, they begin to see others as objects. Power makes people more inclined to insist that others must follow the rules, while making them less inclined to follow the rules themselves. It also makes them more hypocritical. They're more likely to denounce someone for doing something they do too. While women desire power as much as men, men are more attuned, interested, and sensitive to who holds power in a room. They will more easily remember social hierarchies. There are 2 types of power, P power and S power. P power is power for personal gains, while S power is power relative to the achievement of a community goal, e.g., if you want to end world hunger, you need control of where the food goes and of what people do during their day. This is S power. Women are much more motivated by S power than men are. Furthermore, S power mitigates P power, so women are less likely to be motivated by personal gains than men are. S power decreases testosterone, which decreases the dopamine that leads to addiction to power. This explains why there aren't many women dictators in the world. Women simply don't get addicted to power for personal gains like men do. High amounts of money make you less helpful and less generous. Chapter 6. The Winning Mind. When people are repeatedly pressured to do stuff they don't agree with, they often change their opinions to fit the action rather than the opposite. That's what happens to people with Stockholm Syndrome. Likewise, if you get someone that doesn't like you to do something nice to you, they will start to like you. People don't act according to their opinion, but change their opinions according to their actions. Whether we like it or not, power is at the heart of all our relationships. It is impossible to have a meaningful relationship with someone without having some power over that person, and that person must also have some power over you. Parents that use a lot of power over their kids make their kids antisocial as they age, as the kids, due to being deprived of power, need to have power over other people. People that grow up with no power usually end up seeking it in a dictatorial fashion later on. Power transforms people who feel inadequate in the role of a boss into bullies. This is because people are more attacked when they are at the top, which creates stress. So they vent their stress on the people under them. So what makes a winner? The desire to win is the desire for the ego to survive. However, none of us exist in our own individuality. We need others to survive. As a result, a real winner is someone who personally benefits from the power and who makes other people benefit from it too. Unfortunately, these people are rare. This is why we need to make sure that the people at the top don't have unlimited, unchecked power. Conclusion. You are the sum of your personal, social, and working environment. Power will transform you. Lack of it will do too.